They're never told that there is a connection between what they're being taught in the schools here and Afghanistan or Iran. That is a bad government, they're told. It has nothing to do with Islam. Islam is absolutely wonderful, and they firmly believe it. They really believe it. And, you know, our educational systems have been compromised for decades, starting in 1978, 79. How that actually began was incredibly with a revolution, not in Iran, but in Saudi Arabia. And some people came in, they were armed, they brought it in funeral procession, they brought in armaments, and they took over the Kaaba. And you didn't hear about it because just like with Iran, there was an information blackout. And what they did is that they were seizing the Kaaba. They were upset that the Saudis had gotten off Islam. People had television sets, things like this. And those were modifications that isn't allowed in Islam. And they wanted Islam to get back to its basics. Now, Islamic doctrine teaches that every 100 years, there will be someone who will be raised up, who will bring Islam back to its foundations and renovate it, but renovate it in the way of a computer reset, okay? Not in the way of the future. So this is what they were doing. And the Saudis were quite upset. They really wanted the Kaaba back. And finally, what they did is they got hold of the ulema, and these are the Islamic scholars, and they brought them together and they said, we need a fatwa because the people are terrified. You're not allowed to shoot guns, any kind of armaments in the Kaaba. And there's a superstitious element. A lot of fear in Islam is used that, you know, you will go to hell if you do these things, and it's fire and brimstone, to say the least. So the soldiers, the police, they wouldn't help. And without a fatwa, also, they said they had the Mahdi. Now, people won't understand what that is, but, you know, it's a symbol of, you know, the end days and things. And anyway, so they were very frightened, and they brought in the ulema, and the ulema made a deal with them. They said, if you will go along with these conditions, then we will give you a fatwa. So the fatwa said that the people who had taken over the Kaaba in this way were not Muslims. They were disbelievers. They were disbelievers inside the Kaaba, and that is forbidden, right? And so therefore, they were allowed to kill them. This came in an official fatwa. And the thing is, people don't realize just about anybody can make up a fatwa. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people who have the credentials to make up a fatwa. All that is necessary for a fatwa, a legal ruling, is that it be consistent with the hadith. Okay, this is the sunnah, the way of Muhammad. It be consistent with that. This is generally recorded in the hadith. They have a canon, pretty much, but it's huge. Or the Quran. It has to be, well, it has to be consistent with both. The problem is that this doctrine is dualistic. This doctrine can be made to say basically anything you want to say.
That's right.
And so if you have an imam who, you know, wants to bring down the West tomorrow, and he has a lot of followers, and it's consistent with the Quran, which is very easy, he can issue a fatwa to that effect. I mean, you know, there were fatwas, you know, about a year ago against President Trump to go out and kill him. And we all know about the fatwa against Salman Rushdie. There's a fellow who wrote a book about Islamic finance, and he's a Muslim. And at the end of his wonderful book, he wrote, I hope there won't be a fatwa against me for saying this. So, yeah. So anyway, that's what happened. So the deal they made was that all this oil that they had recently discovered, that they would spend a whole bunch of it to bring people in the West, that they would spend it on education to bring them to Islam. And that's when the money started going into the universities. It all came from this incredible event in Arabia that most people don't even know about, when the Kaaba was captured, and the only way to get it back was to do a deal with the scholars, the ulema, who said, yeah, you guys got lots of money. You're supposed to be spreading Islam. You do it, or you don't get a fatwa. And so we have reaped the benefits of this. So our schools are completely compromised.